Hello? Aunt Mary's here. In the coffee bin. And she loves coffee. So don't, Lois, don't use this to make coffee. Don't open it. I'd like to welcome you all, and I'm so happy, she would be so happy to see all your faces here. I mean, this was something that she looked forward to, especially the latter years of her life, the family picnic. Lois and her would, get shopping and all the planning and everything, and there was always a question, who's going to come this year? And we're always surprised. And then new babies coming every year, and just, I don't know. I just hope our picnics don't end. I had something prepared here, but I don't know if I want to read it all. Okay, she married my dad in '53. She was born in '35. Joe and Elizabeth Finan, mom and dad. She had 11 siblings, and she had 32 nieces and nephews. It's quite a bit. She had Nancy and myself and my brother Ed. We lost my brother Ed 2 years ago, very suddenly, and things just weren't the same after that. The picnic was usually the last weekend in July, but now we got the last weekend of September that we're remembering her. My mother would be proud and honored to see you all here today. She was a very private woman, very proud woman. Her and my dad always worked. When I was little, moms didn't work outside the home, very few. But they worked hard to, get what they have, and they both instilled this good work ethic. She always wanted to be an independent woman, and that really took my dad off. But after he died, she went to go get her pilot's license. I don't know if you know that or not, but her eyes held her back, and she also, renting a plane was a little bit beyond her means. So, but she tried, Let's see. She worked at the Chevy plant when I was growing up. And to hear her describe it, it was like working with Mad Men, the TV show. That's how they were. She worked for Bay Village Police Department, and it was one of her favorite places. Then she worked at Ohio, and one of the things she told me, she introduced me to Tim O'Brien, and she said, if he asks you out, don't go out with him. Well, following the Finan tradition, I did. They said no, I gotta do it. But the bit of life in her life were her 3 granddaughters, Molly and Emily. Laura's in New Zealand, far away, but she's thinking of us right now. When I last saw her at hospice, she thanked me for having the girls and supporting my sister in getting things together. When it was time for her to leave, all of us were there. Even Maura came in from New Zealand, and we circled her and held hands and said the Lord's Prayer. And we left, and I drove to Fairview Park from Westlake, not 15 minutes away, and I got home and she had passed. So, I mean, it was a loving way to leave. So, I know she's here though. I can just feel her. That's about all I have. Nancy? Say something, Molly?
Speaking on behalf of my sisters, and we're here today to honor Graham, and please know that she really wanted all of us to do this one more time, and we were with her during her final days, and this is one of the things that she really wanted us to do again. So thanks for coming out. Graham was like a second mother to me, but she was also a Graham.
She spoiled you.
She spoiled us rotten, and she just really loved us and nurtured us and inspired us to do big things with our life. And she took the time to be with us and to really give us sound advice whenever we needed it. You could call her up and you could give her some idea about what was going on in your life, and she'd have a solution, or she'd ask the right questions to lead you to the solution. And she just gave us a good perspective on what we should do with our adult problems. And she also had the Irish gift of gab. So you would get her on the phone and she could talk about politics, she could talk about celebrity gossip, she could talk about the scandal, wherever a scandal was, she'd love to talk about it. And I would spend 1 to 2 hours on the phone with her. And during my later professional career developing, and I would have to arrange for blocks of time to sit with Graham and talk on the phone. And it just became kind of a ritual that I would do, though, and it's part of my adult life. But in the coming months and days and months and years, I'm going to miss that, and I can't believe I'm not going to be able to call her up and say, hey, what do you think about this? But I was very lucky to have a grandma for 35 years. So I'm very grateful for that. So I want to say, Graham, I love you, I miss you, and I hope you're doing okay.
Okay, hopefully I'll be the comic relief. We come to this picnic every 2 years, and we kind of catch up with each other, but we really don't know each other except our individual families, and we see each other every day. So I'm going to tell you some things about Mom that you might not know, or you might know. Her favorite color was green, although she liked blue sometimes. Her eyes were green, but unbelievably, right before she died, they turned blue. I don't understand that. I don't know what that's all about, but they turned blue. Her favorite food was almost everything. Grandma Finan taught her that, and all their kids, you finish every single bite. I don't care what it is, you finish every bite. So she did that, but luckily she didn't do that with us, but we're very picky eaters now, so that doesn't help. Most favorite, I think, if I had to pick, was ice cream. She would, a drop of a hat, if you said, let's go to Dairy Queen, boom, she was there. She was in the car waiting for it to go. Her favorite shows were Mad Men. She loved that show. I think she had a crush on that head guy, whoever.
John Hamm.
Cutie Pie, yeah, John Hamm, yeah. Well, he's cute. She loved Houlihan and Big Chuck, and they came back, I guess now it's Houlihan and Little John, and they're on at 11:30 every Saturday. So even in hospice, we were watching Houlihan and Big Chuck. She loved the show Boardwalk, Nurse Jackie, which is on Showtime, but she stopped. She didn't want to start watching it again because they're screwing around too much with each other. She didn't like that. a little too R for her. She loved the news, and I don't know if it's a family trait, but I think almost every Finan watches the news. My dad watched the news, Mom did, my sister does, I do. My brother didn't, but then he worked on the news, so. She loved MASH, that's going back a long time. You little ones don't even know what that is. She loved the show Soap. I don't know if any of you remember that. That was an R-rated show, but she never censored my sister and I and my brother. We were allowed to watch anything. So here I was in high school allowed to watch Soap, and it dealt with topics they deal with today, but back then they didn't deal with those topics. But she didn't care. She wanted us to be exposed to different things. She didn't want to censor us. She liked Murphy Brown. I think she thought maybe a little bit of her was Murphy Brown, independent and strong thinking. Her favorite movie was Tootsie. And the reason is when my niece Emmy was being weaned from breastfeeding, Grandma was watching her. And I don't know if my sister ran late or whatever, but Emmy couldn't be comforted because Grandma didn't have breast milk. So Grandma's running through the house just like Tootsie. One scene in the movie, she's running through the house with the baby. Okay, baby, and her hair is standing up and she's just running around like crazy. She said, that's her and Emily. And she said, that's my favorite movie. Later in years, her favorite shows were anything that my brother Ed was on or involved with. That included The Ghoul, Cleveland Indians, basketball team Cavaliers, or any other show that he was taping or involved with. And she would watch faithfully Cavaliers basketball. To see him sitting underneath, he used to sit underneath the basket. And she would see, because the basketball players would run into him periodically and fall on him, and they broke the basket one time with the glass and it ended up on Eddie, but she was watching so she could see Eddie. So she'd catch a glimpse of him maybe a couple times a game, but she watched the whole thing. Some of the things she'd like to do were to ride in fast cars. If you remember Grandma, she always had a kind of cool car. Maribeth and I learned to drive in a Buick Skylark. That was a really hot car back then.
No, a Mercedes.
Well, she learned to drive in a Mercedes, pardon me. But I learned to drive in a Skylark. My brother learned to drive in a little yellow Mustang. So she always had little fast cars. She loved to dance. And when I asked her after my dad died, was there anything she missed the most? And she said, I didn't have the last dance. So I don't know that he was a very good dancer. He tried to teach me to dance, and all we could do was the box steps. So jury's out on that one. She loved roller coasters, but after time she couldn't tolerate riding them. She loved to fly. She loved hot air balloons, and that was one of the things she wanted to do before she died, was ride in a hot air balloon. She loved to travel, even if it was to Chicago to see her granddaughters, or even if it was just to Southern Ohio to go to a odd lot shopping spree. She just loved to travel. She loved to sing. I don't know if you guys know it, but she had a pretty good voice. What I remember her singing is a song, You Made Me Love You, and that was what Grandma Finan used to sing to Joe Finan when she'd get pissed at him. It says, you made me love you, I didn't want to do it, I didn't want to do it. Those are the only words I know to the song. But when Mom would get upset with Dad, she'd be singing that song through the house. And she'd do it very theatrically, you know. As I said, she liked the news, she liked to read newspapers and books, anything. She really pretty much liked to read anything. I knew during her illness that she was feeling better, because if she was watching TV and Obama was on there, she'd say, oh, that SOB Obama's on there, or oh, that MF Obama's on there. So I knew she was feeling better, because every time she had to say his name, she had to say something in front of it. Mom never voted for a particular party, but as she turned older, she started kind of consistently voting Republican, because she wanted what she felt was the best. And her and I had to have kind of a standoff in the house, because we always canceled each other out when we voted. She couldn't stand that I was a Democrat, but they raised me. So she loved the lottery. They faithfully played that lottery, played the same numbers, birth dates, birth years. She loved to go out to eat, anywhere, anytime, and she loved McDonald's French fries. So the next time you go to McDonald's, have some fries on Mary. Think of Mom. We would go to McDonald's, which is a couple blocks away from the house, and the fries would be gone by the time we got home. She loved her kids. I think I can't pick the hierarchy starting off, but I know somewhere in there she loved my dad, somewhere. But the grandkids were the top. The sun and the moon revolved around them. She loved her home. She loved her toes. She thought they were very pretty, and Molly has a picture of them. She will show you that we took in hospice because she had them done, and Molly has the exact same toes as Grandma does. We didn't know that. So, you know, what I'm just trying to say is that we don't know each other very well, but we were always taught that if you remember a person, they're never gone. So, in some of the things I've said, if you catch something, McDonald's fries, or the news, think of Aunt Mary, because that way she's never ever gone. We believe in the afterlife, and of interest was her last physician was an Indian, and she said to him, I know I'm going to die, but I just want to be on God's lawn. I don't have to go in. I just want to be on God's lawn. She's explaining this to an Indian who believes in many lives. And he's looking at her like, okay. And lastly, when we were in the hospital the first night, she took a bad turn, and that's why we ended up in the hospital. They were able to take her breathing tube out within like 8 hours, and she was talking and everything. And before they took it out, she was writing letters on my hand. And she wrote, I've had a very good life. They took the breathing tube out, and then she proceeded to embarrass the young doctor by telling him how cute he was. He turned beet red. So that was Grandma. She was a flirt, and she was full of fun. She could be your worst enemy, but she'd give you the shirt off her back if you just asked for it. Couldn't take, just ask for it. Can't cut in front of her in line, but she'd let you in front of line if you're struggling. Thanks everybody for being here, and I've got a lot more, but we don't need to. We don't need to go through that. Just remember now and then. Okay, thanks.
Does anybody else want to say anything or have a fond memory?
Well, I don't know if this is going to work. Do you need help? But at my brother's wedding, they launched some butterflies. I don't know if they're still alive. Mom, these are for you. She believed when you saw a butterfly that was life, and that she was going to come back either as a horse or a butterfly. So when you see a butterfly, don't kill it. It might be Aunt Mary.
They're moving around.
They're alive.
Oh, wow. They've been frozen, so.
They're thawing out. But we'll just put them here, and they can they'll warm up. That's why we have the flowers there, so they'll hang around a little while.
Still fine. Just give them a few.
Okay.
Put them in the sun.
Oh, put them in the sun? Yeah, there's over there, Meredith, by the basket there on the ledge. Whoa. Thank you. Well, that's all. Let's see. You have so much food. Please. Don't be shy. You're probably going to take some home.